I hereby open this special meeting and budget workshop of the governing body of the City of Devine, the 6th day of August 2024. Official time 6:02, please, 6:02. Okay, starting off with the first item, presentation by insurance agent Ernest Munoz on the group health, life, and AD&D insurance. Ernest, if you would, I guess, get to the podium if you wish and see if you can make that work for you, that microphone.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, you might want to raise it up a little bit so you don't have to stoop. Maybe, I don't know, it's check in and point it to you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Ernest Munoz, I'm with Frost Insurance. We're a division of Frost Bank out of San Antonio. Currently your broker consultant. So basically our role is to consult the city on an annual basis on your employee benefits programs. And so had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Jordan and Dora Rodriguez a couple of weeks ago and present the renewal options for the benefits for the medical, dental, vision, life. I think we're only going to address the products that the city pays for, and then the rest are voluntary programs. You probably have been provided in your packet a snapshot of what we presented. I don't know if y'all have had an opportunity to review it. If y'all have any questions for me. I don't know if Mr. Jordan's made any recommendations or not to y'all as well, but I'd be happy to go over.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, can you just go over the changes, please?
Absolutely. So we currently have on the medical plan, if you'll defer to the spreadsheet that says City of Devine Medical Market Overview, looks like this. I think it should be a color copy there. So in the green there, you'll see Cigna level funding. That is the current plan that we placed for the City of Devine last year that was most competitive. We replaced TML last year, which was Texas Municipal Pool, because they had a 30% increase last year. So we obviously weren't going to accept that. So we agreed to go to the marketplace, shop it, and Cigna came back the most competitive last year. Historically, having an insurance company in place with the same vendor 2 to 3 years is kind of the track record in the industry. So you don't have, so you do have continuity. You're not moving doctors. You're not having move, prescriptions, those kind of things from the employees in that year, unless the increase is outside of our budget. Then we definitely need to go and shop the marketplace and review other options. So Cigna, this would be year 2 of Cigna. Initially, Cigna's renewal came out at 18.6%, which right now, 18% is about our national average. If you keep up with the local news, national news, healthcare is always at the forefront, especially in election years, right? Everybody's talking about it. We do have some claims that are still ongoing. Where our loss ratio is over 100% right now, which means the insurance companies paid out more in premiums or in claims that we've collected in premiums. Okay, that's not usual, right? You have spikes every couple of years that you have that kind of thing happen. On the average, your loss ratios usually run around 80%, give or take. So I went back to Cigna and I said, look, let's give it a couple more months when they release me the claims and see if we see some improvement and see if you can reconsider that 18%. I said, because I can assure you that when it comes time to present to council, they're going to ask us to go to marketplace. 18% is probably outside their budget. So we watched the claims a couple more months. They started to stabilize some. There's still some ongoing risk, but it did give us the opportunity to negotiate down to a 10%. So now we're at a 10.9%. Now, I did tell Mr. Jordan last week that I did informally go ahead and put it out to market just to put some feelers out there to see if there was anyone else out there. As of today, we hadn't got responses yet. The insurance markets usually don't release quotes until about 60 days close to your effective date. So we're right in that kind of in between stage. In my opinion, a 10% increase today, like I said, 18% being the national average, 10% knowing what we have ongoing, knowing that we won't have any disruptions, etc. I think it's something that's acceptable if it's acceptable to your budget. The plan design wouldn't change if you accepted that plan. So you'd keep the same doctor copay, same prescription, etc. Now, one of the things I did do is I put an alternate offer on the right side there in the blue by tweaking the deductible by $500, and you'd have a few changes throughout the plan. For example, the specialist copay would go to $60 versus $45. Everything else after that in network would stay. Where you do see a big jump is out of network benefits. So if somebody went to see a doctor outside the network, or someone had major medical care outside the network, then the employee would be responsible for more money. But that did give us a little bit of relief on the plan that would reduce it to 9.9. So not significant, but just to give you an option within the Cigna family of products to consider. Yes, sir?
I have a question for Pete. Well, I guess Pete, Denise, and Dora. How do you folks like the current insurance compared to what you're used to?
We don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. I've been to the doctor twice and I haven't had a problem.
Okay. And a question for you and Debbie, because you're former insurance, yeah.
Yeah.
How does this company compare as far as their requirements to continuously going back to your PCM and get to see them for every referral? Essentially, are we seeing an increase in claims because of their bureaucratic processes of have to go back to the doctor to get another referral to specialist, then go back to your doctor to get the referral for that referral to another specialist? And does that make sense?
Under this plan, you don't have to get a referral. It's an open access. So the member can go directly to the primary care doctor, or they can go directly to a specialist. So you don't have...
Is that true for both plans, the
Yes, sir.
alternate?
Yes, sir.
Is that what OAP stands for?
Excuse me?
Is that what OAP stands for?
Open access, yes. Yes, sir. So the employees have the freedom to go to the specialist direct. You don't have... Now, to answer your question, also to expand on the overlapping in the claims, etc. The claims that we've seen, the utilization, have been some really significant illnesses. So kind of one-time events, so they're not frequent. Now, you do see a lot of utilization with prescriptions. And a lot of the carriers now and doctors are also prescribing Ozempic. So people are using it for weight loss, etc. Which, it's helping folks, right? I mean, we're lowering the, diabetes is actually, now kind of disappearing with some of those things, etc. So that's what it's there for, to use. But I would say historically, we don't run as hot of being over 100%. We're running more in the past, in the 80s. This was just an unusual year.
I'm wondering if some of that isn't just catching up from COVID, where a lot of people put off going to the doctor and put off a lot of things because they didn't want to go out and they didn't want to go to the hospital and get out in it. I don't know if we're too far from that or not,
There's no telling.
There has been kind of a delayed onset with COVID still, and people are still catching COVID today, right? So that possibly could be some of it. Our claims report that we receive, they only release us claims that are over $10,000. They don't let us see anything under $10,000, and then we don't get to see who the member is, because of privacy, HIPAA privacy, PHI. So, but we get a general look at, hey, this is what's paid out. This is some of the stuff that's running hot, and they were major. One, I think one claim was running over 130,000, just one single claim.
So, I don't remember what year it was, because they all kind of blend sometimes, but the last time we did this, I remember there was a outcry from the employees because one of the suggestions was going to be their specialist copay, I think was going to be like $75 at that time. And council heard them, that because there are a lot of people that go to specialists. I mean, you got your eyes, you got endocrinologists, you got all those specialists that people go to. And they go to them at least 3 or 4 times a year, and they thought that would be a little too much for them. So I remember council going, okay, we hear you, and that's why they went to the $45 copay to see a specialist. That's the only one thing I remember from that whole meeting in terms of insurance. So I'm just a little concerned about us going to $60 copay if we went with the alternate plan.
Well,
And
for me,
also-
I don't see the big benefit. You're like, even if you went to the alternate plan, you're only saving $3,100.
Right, it's not a lot.
So that's, I mean, I doubt whether we have that many people that use out-of-network,
Right.
but still,
And that out of
I don't know that you're really
the
saving,
deductible,
the savings, don't really
Another
add up.
$500 for deductible is quite substantial.
It is.
For our employees.
Yeah.
I mean, let's admit it, we're not top of the line, executives getting, that don't care about that $500.
Exactly.
So I personally don't think the alternate plan would be good for our employees, but that's just my opinion.
I'm tending to agree with that.
I agree also.
And we just wanted to show you an option, that there's something out there. What some employers are doing is, if they don't have the budget, they're saying, hey, we know it's going to go up a little bit, but hey, this is a way to cost save. Or what some employers are doing is they'll offer 2 plans. Like they'll offer the alternate plan as an option and the other as an option. And then they give the employees a choice, especially if you have somebody that has dependents, to give them an option to choose something more affordable.
What would be the, I guess we're paying this per month per employee or something? What would be the savings if we offered that? Because I assume there's a lower copay if you go with the alternate plan, so our younger employees who don't ever really use the doctor might want a lower cost plan.
Yeah, the city pays 100% of the employee-only cost, and then the rest is passed on to the dependents they pay for. So to answer your question, if we go with the $772.99, you would subtract $765.87. So that would be the difference in contribution from the city if you did something like that.
It's not much.
Can we save the employees a little bit of money somewhere if they go for one over the other? Sorry, I have no idea. This worksheet doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me as far as the things you're saying right now.
Yeah. The employees will have no cost, so there's no way to save the employee money. Yeah, only if they put their families, yeah. The city pays 100% of the employee's premium. So the $772.99 would be covered by the city, 100% for the employee.
Couple questions also. So if you stay with Cigna, number one, okay, you don't have to have another health census?
Correct.
Okay.
Everything
But if
continues.
you change, then we would have to go through a health census?
If we change insurance
To another
companies,
carrier.
yes. Yeah, we would have to go through underwriting as well, which would mean approval.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably not a good thing to do at this time.
Not with the claims that are running.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then there's 4 brackets here for prescription drug copay. What are those referring to, please?
Level 1 is generic, like your $10 copay would be your low-cost generic. Level 2, $45 would be your name brand prescription copay. Level 3 would be $90 is your non-formulary. And then level 4 is your high injectables.
Is your what?
High injectables.
Okay.
And we dig deeper in the weeds, Mr. Cook, for the employees during open enrollment. We provided more data than this. This is just kind of high level, but
I understand.
yes, sir.
Yeah, so, can I sign up for this?
Brian's pretty good.
When you're self-employed, I mean, this is hey, this is wonderful. So, but anyway, I'm almost on ready.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know what that brings, but I'll find out. Yeah. But anyway, I can't see anything wrong with the current myself from what I know about insurance and such.
I like the no bid rate one. I'm digging that. The no bid rate on the
Basically, that's what Cigna was when they came back and they said, hey, if we'll give you this rate at no bid.
If we don't go out to bid?
Yes,
Okay,
that was their terminology.
I love that.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I said, yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they're thinking they're trying to keep the clients.
yeah. And they lost money year one. They lost money. So in their eyes, they're like hoping, okay, hopefully the ship will turn a little bit, right? Yeah.
Okay, works for me.
Do we have to vote on this tonight?
That I don't know. Is
I-
this something we vote on, or we just incorporate it into our budget?
This is already calculated into the budget.
Okay, because it's a workshop, we don't really,
So we don't have
vote
to
in
say
workshops.
approve it?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to approve anything?
It's already in the budget,
Just-
so
This is
Yes,
info
we
only?
approve the
it's
budget.
done.
Awesome.
okay.
Sounds good.
Guys, got any further questions for Ernest?
I've got
You got some more?
the life insurance
Okay.
to go over because the city does pay for that as well, sir. If you turn to the next page, the group life AD&D. Currently, we have MetLife. The city pays for $15,000 of life AD&D, which is accidental death dismemberment coverage. So each employee gets $15,000 life insurance. That is relatively low for today's standards. I think y'all have been at $15,000 for probably 30 years. I went back and looked at history. So Mr. Jordan and I talked, and he said, well, why don't you quote us a couple of options? So I chose to quote 30 and 50 to see if it was within your budget to increase the life coverage for the employee. Obviously, inflation, cost of burials, cost of funerals, etc. I'm sure the employees would appreciate maybe a little extra money, or their families would, right? So the cents per thousand didn't change, it's just the volume. So you'll see that it cost .214 per thousand for the life, 0.02 for the AD&D. And so currently you're paying $120 a month, and that includes everybody at the City of Devine. So it covers all the employees for $120 for $15,000. If we bumped it up to 30, it would increase it to $236.22, and you would have 30,000 life AD&D. So if somebody has a fatal accident, then it would pay them their family twice the amount, or dependent or beneficiary would pay them $60,000. And then if you chose to do $50,000, it would be $393.71.
I don't have those numbers.
I don't either.
You don't have they're not showing up on the
It
spreadsheet?
has the same on each
It
one.
just shows the same on every one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like there was no price increase.
okay. I had said,
Therefore, we want the
right now,
the 50,000 and 120.39 a month.
I had sent Dora a revised because
It's too late.
if you read the fine print at the bottom, it says this is an outline. It's contract. Yeah.
This is the revised, this is corrected.
On the revised one, I got the first page, which was the medical.
This is medical,
On
yeah.
Friday, y'all.
I'm sorry?
On Friday. The one that was sent yesterday was a revised one that Ernest sent to
I
us.
think that's the one.
So that one was the only thing that y'all got was the medical.
Sure I did.
But on Friday, y'all got the medical in the lot,
In the pocket.
in the packet.
And that's what's showing that there's no change.
Yeah, that was incorrect. So then I emailed it to her and updated it.
Okay.
Let me look to see. Maybe
So-
it's here. No.
So basically, you're just raising the total amount of insurance.
Yeah, the cents per thousand, Mr. Cook, didn't change. Like I said, it's just based on the volume, right? So then obviously the premium changed because it's like doubled, right? So instead of paying $120.39 a month, if you go to 30,000, the premium is $236.22. Almost double, yeah.
That's not really happening.
Yeah. And so you're covering everybody at the City of Devine. It's like 36 plus employees, I think. And if you wanted to go to 50,000, it's $393.71 total premium a
How
month.
does insurance work? Is this just as long as they're an employee of the city?
Yes, sir. While they're employed here.
I mean, I'd rather give folks that extra $100 in a paycheck than to get term policy that outlasts an employment than all that.
Well, this isn't $100 per employee, this is $100 for the whole company, for the month.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Per employee.
Yes. Now, don't let me talk you out of giving them $100 a month, but, yeah, no, you're talking $100 for everybody. So, yeah, it covers all 36 or 38 employees, whatever head count we're at now.
$20, it covers all 36.
That's basically
Yeah.
free.
Oh, okay.
All 36 employees. Yeah. So,
It's like
so let's,
$1,400
This is 50K?
50K is $393.71. So if you divide $393.71 by say 38 employees, that's what, $10 a head, get $10 a month per employee, give or take. Yeah.
It's a nice perk. Yeah. 270 times 12, that's gonna add 24.
And I don't know, Mr. Jordan, if he looked at the budget, I know he had an opportunity to look at both, but if you plugged into the budget anything,
When you look at the budget, we plugged in $50,000 on benefit in the council, so chooses.
Now, I see you've got MetLife Principal and Guardian here. Principal and Guardian seem to be cheaper in all cases. Principal, they should not recognize this. Are they like not well funded or something? Or why do you choose MetLife versus a higher cost over Principal and Guardian?
we have a bundle, we have MetLife Vision also on a voluntary basis. And then we also had quoted a disability product. And so when you bundle all three together, it gave us some leverage. The other thing is with MetLife, historically we haven't had rate increases. So if you see here at 120.39, that was a rate last year as well. So we had no rate change, no increase. So if we kept the same plan, we had no rate increase. And you'll see how close the others two were. So without having to disrupt the insurance enrollment, etc.
Do you offer those additional policies to our staff?
Yes.
Okay. Does this MetLife offer a child rider policy?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you see it down there at the bottom. See where it says dependents, spouse, and dependents.
Oh, that's what that means. Okay.
And then you'll see the rate for the spouse and dependents is affordable at 175 versus principal at 190.
Okay.
But that's a good question.
So for dependents, they save money with MetLife if they choose to.
And then the other thing on the dependents, you'll notice with principal, if they're under 6 months, the dependent child only gets 1,000 coverage. And then when they're over, then it's 2,000, which with Met and Guardian, it's 2,000 if they're 6 months or older. And the dental that we have with Met is voluntary, so the employee pays for that. There's no cost to the city. Same thing with the vision. There's no cost on the vision plan. With Met, the employees also have an opportunity to purchase more insurance in increments of 5,000. They can buy up to 100,000. We have a guarantee issue of 50,000. So,
That's how they keep the prices low. I'm selling.
well, the nice thing is that when you have a population of employees in today's environment, that obviously we're getting older, right? If you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, those things, it's nice to be able to get additional coverage with no physicals. And doing it through the employer, you can do that. If you walk out on the street and you walk into any State Farm or Farmers Insurance or anybody of those, they're going to ask you for a physical, blood work, etc. Yeah.
First one.
So anytime you can get coverage to an employer option, you're going to get preferred underwriting, more liberal underwriting, and pricing is going to be more competitive.
That sounds excellent. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So what do you have in the budget for life insurance this go around?
We budgeted for $50,000.
Oh, for 50?
Yes, sir. We got approved it.
Okay, so that would be about 5,000 a year?
47.24.
47, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And what is the cost difference between 50 and 30? What would that take it down to?
It's like $3,000.
$130 difference.
The cost for 30,000 annually to the city is 2,834, and the annual for the 50 is 47. So about $900 difference, and you're getting 50,000 versus 30 annual.
About the cost for a projector, so we don't have that piece of it.
Well, I was just saying, that's a very good perk, and they can buy extra on their own.
On top of that, yes, sir.
I mean, I know finding employees is hard. I'm sure that retention is like a big part of what everyone's thinking here. Was just wondering what the cost difference was. We were at 15, so even if we went to 30, we'd still be heroes. So
Yes,
I'm just
sir. Yeah. It'll definitely help out some families. Now, one of the things about life insurance that has evolved, and I'm just going to do a little life insurance 101, is that all the life policies now, and I would encourage you to look at yours, whichever you have an accelerated death benefit now too as well, including the group product here, right? So if you have an employee that has a terminal illness diagnosis, okay, and they're giving less than six months to live, you can go and appeal to the insurance company and ask them to front you some of that money while you're alive. It'll take a physician statement, etc., right? But what it's done is help families still continue to be able to pay some of the bills, maybe get some experimental treatment. If somebody has said, hey, you can't have any more cancer treatment, you can't have any more leukemia treatment. So I've seen scenarios where the insurance company will front the member 75% of the insurance while they're alive. So what happens at their death? They pay the balance. And so that's helped some folks also. So by having a greater amount of 15 versus 50, then that gives the employee access in the event someone ever was in that situation, that they'd be able to have some of that money up front to take care of some, again, maybe get experimental treatment or something that they weren't being approved by the insurance company. Or first time I ever heard that story in the insurance industry, it was a doctor out of Louisiana. I went to a convention. He had a $5 million policy, and he'd been diagnosed with leukemia, and they gave him less than 6 months. So he went to the insurance company and said, look, my policy's paid for. I'd like to have some of it while I'm alive. My wife and I have a bucket list. We'd like to do some things. So they traveled, they went to Europe, they did everything they could. He lived 5 more years because he was stress-free, right? So they gave him, in that scenario, they gave him 50%. So they gave him 2.5. He went and did what he wanted to do, traveled, did bucket list, etc. And then at his death, 5 years later, his spouse received the 2.5. So I went and bought more life insurance that day. I was still single and young, and I was like, okay, if something happens to me, I don't think the bank's gonna lend me any money, So, any more questions, comments?
It works for me, then.
Well, in the big scheme of things, $3,000 isn't that giant of a number to give our people their coverage.
50,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we get picky about certain numbers, but this isn't one of those ones, I think.
No, it's just like anything. I mean, the school district faces the same thing. It's hard to keep employees in Devine because they can go somewhere else and get better benefits and better pay. But if you get people that are being taken care of, then they don't necessarily want to go somewhere else. They want to, by and large, most people want to stay here. If they can find something to do, if we make a city job a more coveted, sought-after type deal, then we won't have some of the issues that maybe a lot of others have.
Well, I can tell you that y'all have some very loyal employees.
Yeah.
People stick around here.
Yep.
And we appreciate all of them.
Yeah.
Do we have to vote on this one?
Well, you don't really vote in the budget workshop, I don't think. So, you don't vote in the budget
No,
workshop.
sir. No, sir. It's informational, and we'll just roll into the budget.
So we just tell you yes, then to the 15.
Yeah, and then when I assume when we vote to approve the budget.
To approve that, it's already written in there.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay. Ernest, is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, and I enjoy working with Mr. Jordan and Dora. Obviously, Dora has a lot of history here, and she's your go-to person and our go-to person as well. And so the next step is we'll coordinate open enrollment. We'll come and educate the employees, give them the good news that you guys have bumped up their life insurance amount. I'm sure the questions will be who's the beneficiary. So, but thanks for having me this evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Likewise.
All right. Moving on to workshop item number 2, discuss and consider review of the no new revenue tax rate, no new approval tax rate, no new revenue maintenance operations, commonly referred to as the M&O rate, the de minimis rate, and the unused increment rate. David, you or would they have somebody?
Before you start, can I get a printout? The PDF is crooked or sideways. Really tough to read that one.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Oh, yeah, I printed one out.
Just the top page.
I probably should have, but
Let's see it again.
Yeah, it came out sideways, so you don't print it, you can't really look at it.
That's why I put it down here.
There you go.
I'm the same way. You got it. Thanks, sir. David, I think the floor belongs to you.
So we had literally got the numbers yesterday morning. We've been locked in the room together for about 3 days. Covering some of these other numbers, so we're going to share the presentation of the different areas of what this means. Excuse my voice.
So our no new revenue rate is going to drop 3 cents? Is that what I see here?
Yes. The new revenue rate is going to be the 52.77, and we're currently at 55.53.
Gotcha. All right, well, that's encouraging.
Well,
It's not been every year.
I'm not quite sure how they come up with it as a no new revenue.
That's a complex formula they have on that, and it's not as simple as just taking it and multiplying it by the tax base.
What percentage?
It's real complicated. I tried to figure that out last year, and I even went and met with the appraisal district and such.
What percentage of expected property tax collections have we got for the current year?
Our expense report said we're at 93%.
93, okay.
That's the same thing that she said when, what's her name was up here, right? We're talking
No, we
about.
were at 87, we've gotten more over the last month.
Yeah.
Because I swear she said we were like 87% received when she gave us that.
Yeah, she gave us that.
But the last expense revenue that came out just a couple of weeks ago, we're at 93% right now, well, that day, which is great.
I'm thinking that's good.
I think annually they said it.
Today, we're at 94.42%.
Oh, well, we got more. Woo-hoo.
That's really good.
We roughly collect anywhere from 94 to 97%.
It just takes time for it to dribble in.
Did they supply an amount for tax protest? Or is this just tax rates at the moment?
Wasn't that 9 million on the front page letter? Didn't it say 9 million?
Sorry?
On the front page letter from the tax.
Yeah, when that time comes, it'll have something on there, have properties
I
under
think it
protest.
said, okay, 9 million, but Let me see.
I was thinking maybe it was in
Under the
this.
protest, we don't get a report
come
from
from?
Melissa.
No, but
was in the-
there was something about 9 million not in that number.
She sent out,
But she does,
That is where they put it.
put it in the calculation.
A percentage.
Okay.
Total value of under protest or not certified is 8.4.
yeah,
Oh, was it 8.5? Okay.
Yeah.
That's better than
8.4 million.
uncertified. Well, so the 9 million, what is uncertified total market value awaiting ARB?
That is what is awaiting protest.
Okay, so 9.4 million is the protest amount. It's on the first page letter, just before her signature. So,
Oh, okay, what's the next page? Scroll up.
Oh.
Okay. Prior text. I do that all the time. I'll see a page and I'll think that's it.
Yeah.
Because I normally go this way. And, okay. Prior taxable value, 304 million. Adjusted tax rate, 255.
So- I did a bunch of calculations and then I didn't print the right one out. But the budget that we're going to talk about here in a second is done at 6.0.
Hey, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. We just got to talk a little more.
Okay. The budget that you sent us,
Yes, ma'am.
it said, well, that's COLA. Didn't you say it was done at 6.0? I mean, 0.6?
Yes, we just forgot to change the little number of the top.
Okay, so technically, when we're doing our budget, of course, this first round is at the 0.6 or 0.006 or whatever you want to call it. I'm not for raising tax rates, you know that. We've all been through this already. But even keeping the current tax rate, we might get a little iffy. The current tax rate at 5553 can be squishy. And things are going to have to be cut back.
I have a question. Is this not based on the assumed tax values for next year, or is that based on current values?
What we're going to pay in October.
Right, so if we see a steep housing contraction, would that not decrease the amount of revenue we bring in? Or is it already set?
Isn't it already set that we all have to pay this by
Yes.
October, blah, blah, blah?
So as of January 1st, that is the valuation that the appraisal district goes off of.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know about everybody else, but my property valuation went way up.
They're all at the
So,
roof, yeah.
you know, it's that old smoke and mirrors. We say no new taxes, but the fact is the values got jacked up. So
Correct.
there's got to be more revenue.
Well, the no new revenue rate is supposed to reflect both. So the no new revenue rate, the no new revenue rate is supposed to be what rate brings in the same amount of tax money you had the previous year.
Got it.
Yeah. So whereas if you keep your tax rate the same, obviously you're not raising the tax rate, but if your valuations went up, you're actually bringing in more tax dollars, but keeping the same tax rate.
It seems like we're in a position to need to keep the tax rate the same. Is that what y'all are saying?
That's where I was
Oh,
going.
it's very early.
I know, very early, but
But I'm saying with these kind of numbers, if we kept the same tax rate of 5553, we would be getting a little bit more money.
What is the voter approval rate? Where's that at, guys? Because sometimes,
6231.
okay, like 2 years ago, okay, the voter approval rate was actually lower than your previous tax rate.
Okay, but that was your, we're talking.
And it could happen again. That's what I'm saying. It seems like that might happen again.
So on the tax comparison worksheet, Mayor,
Yes,
this one, at the very bottom, it'll tell you the voter approval rate, and then it'll tell you the menace rate.
okay, and the minimis is the combined of your maintenance operations and
Yes, that's the total tax rate.
INS.
Yes.
Okay, so,
So
but it's 0.06, so do you add that to the voter approval rate should have an amount. So what would that make the amount?
we did not calculate the voter, we did not do a comparison with the voter approval rate.
Okay,
We only did it with
We can figure it out.
the no new tax rate, last year's current tax rate, and then a rate in between the current tax rate and the voter approval rate.
yeah, good, okay. So what I'm trying to determine, and I'm not going to waste too much time on it yet because we have a long way to go. Sometimes your previous no new revenue rate the next year, because sales tax revenues increase, property tax values increase, okay, your voter approval rate might be lower than the previous no new revenue rate,
Correct.
because that happened the year before last. So, so those are things that we have. That's what I was trying to get at. If we knew what the voter approval rate was, yeah. So here it is. There's something I can calculate. But anyway, so that being said,
At some point, we need that information.
yeah. Yeah. You can actually keep your current tax rate and be above the voter approval rate.
Yes, well, we would be, 5553 would be lower than the voter approval rate.
Okay, so right now, okay, it's 6231. Okay, but I'm just saying, sometimes it could be.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Like it was.
Well,
Okay, so I just figured out that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm with Debbie here. I think maybe as well, Jeff, I like keeping the current rate. It gives a little bit more revenue. I'm very bearish on the economy, so I can't imagine a world where next year property values continue to increase. I don't want to put in any major increases because we still haven't delivered crap worth of streets in years. We need to show some meaningful improvements before we start asking for a significant amount more money from folks.
Well, your no new revenue rate's not going to bring you any more money.
No.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
If we keep the current rate, it will bring us slightly
Keep
more.
the current rate, it's going to be 030, it's
Gives us
going to
just
be
a tiny
3
bit.
A little wiggle room.
Okay.
I just worked out the non-voter rate. It would be 1356, 138. So we end up from the 553, let me make sure I'm in the right spot. We would end up with about, if you went that way, we would end up with just under 200,000 more. So to me, that's overtaxing, like overtaxing.
I'm sorry, repeat that. If we kept what rate?
If we kept the 5553, okay, the difference between 5553 and the no voter rate is,
No new revenue?
no. 55, we're talking about the Warhorse Stadium,
voter-
the 5553.
Yeah, if you went straight to
we
the
went-
voter approval rate, okay.
Apples and apples.
That'd be 200,000.
Sorry, you were mixing words. I was getting confused.
Okay, I'm sorry. If we stayed with 5553, and now if you look to see what the 6231 is, okay, 6231, we'd get 1,356,138. So the difference between the two, if we're talking apples and apples, and I just hit the wrong darn button. There we go, 1179, 149. The difference, $176,000. It's really, that's good money, don't get me wrong, but I don't think we need to do that. With the numbers given to us this second,
Yeah.
I know things are
Well,
going to change
obviously-
immensely.
Okay, this is all in its infancy, so obviously, we need to see what the needs are, what David's going to propose and so forth. So we know what we're dealing with here is great. So, I would suggest moving on to hear what David has to say on the budget. If we're ready for that tonight, I'm just doing this part.
Before we dive into the budget, have we heard back on this water rate study? That can we kicked about this time last year?
Good question, because no, we haven't.
The what?
The water rate study, we
Water
had
rate
to take
study.
money, a bunch of money from general funds and push over to fund waters.
The water rate study is being composed, it's not complete. The last person was relieved of her duties, and her supervisor is doing it. He's been very responsive, will have it to us as soon as possible.
It's been 6 months.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
No one is more frustrated than I am, trust me.
Well, it's 6 months of us not having coverage for,
Right, so as you're aware, if we are sample representative and others have recommended we go out and do an actual official study, which costs about $30,000. So we'll have to solve this grant to get the same thing done at a lower cost. However, it's been rather challenging. So we will have the numbers. We anticipate, hope to have the numbers within the next couple of weeks, according to the supervisor, we've been working on.
I'm going to make a request that we as council just set some water rates intermediary if they're not done before the end of this budget. Just request one person.
Fair question. Now, on the county was on the budget also, correct? Just like all the smaller cities, don't they?
Yeah, the county has its own.
They have its
Sure.
own, okay. So if they go up on their rates, on their, let's say they had the same thing here, and they go up, let's say 100 of a point or whatever, does that put us, that doesn't put us in a bind or anything,
Not the city.
right? Well, yeah,
Personally,
but the thing is, the tax is still gonna go up regardless. So,
well, the county is separate from
yeah, I
the
know,
city.
that's what I'm saying, but it's still,
Separate line items on our tax bill.
somebody's still gonna pay regardless. You're gonna pay higher taxes for the county and not as much taxes for the city if we don't go up. What I'm trying to say is that if we want to better our city and bring more money in, we may have to, I'm just trying to throw,
I gotcha.
you know what I'm saying? Just trying to.
You're a little more open?
Yeah, I'm more open. I gotta pay it regardless. If I approve it or something like that, I still gotta pay it. I live
Okay.
here.
Why don't I suggest, okay, because guys, we got 11 minutes.
All right.
All right, so clearly, each and every one of you wants to keep the tax rate as low as absolutely possible, okay? So I think right now would be a great time if David could hit the major concerns that he has with the budget and such. That way it'll soak in, and then we can get to our special meeting on time. Okay?
Okay, so what we went through and we're trying to do as far as personnel-wise is concerned, we're looking at trying to get assistance in our public works department. We're currently down 5 personnel, 2 in water, 1 sewer, 1 park, and 1 in the streets. So what we're trying to do is add those into our budget for this year. We also would like to present to the council potentially looking at a 6% COLA increase for anybody under 40,000. So we have currently 14 employees in that tax bracket, and there's 6 vacancies in that tax bracket, so a total of 8.
Was it 40K or 50K?
40K and below.
Same as last year.
I'd like to be on record, I'm officially opposed to any COLA increases. We need to do a pay leveling for our lower paid folks because we're paying them entirely too little to attract new folks in. And clearly based on the number of vacancies we have in public works, we're not paying enough to even retain them. Nice benefits or not.
Okay.
With this 6%
Okay, let's,
increase, what would their starting rate be?
If you don't mind, let's just look. Just let David hit the highlights so everybody knows what he's thinking about.
Okay. What's the
And then when we have more time at our next, okay? Is that all right, everybody?
Get myself fired up.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
You opened the can, man.
So David, go ahead and
It's still under 20 now. It's still under $20 per hour.
Okay,
That actually was also a consideration was bringing the minimum wage to $20 an hour instead of 17.
what's that do to the budget?
These are all proposals. Of course, the city council is going to make a final decision. What did I say? $20 per hour for all staff that's been here 2 years or longer, bringing them up to $20 an hour minimum.
okay. I like it. Continue, please.
So what's the over $40,000 COLA?
2%.
Jeez.
2% over $40,000, and that would be 29 employees that would be affected under that scenario.
Okay. Next.
That shafted last year too.
We also was looking at consideration for the retirement TMRS from 6% to 1.5% to 7%, 7 to 2%, 7% 2 to 1 match. I'm sorry. So that's the standard for most cities. Be competitive 7% with the 2 to 1 match for the TMRS, Texas Municipal Retirement System.
So the city match is double.
The city, right? The city currently is at
They take
6%.
$20 in the paycheck, we'll put it in 40.
Technically, whether $1 the person, the employee puts in, the city puts in 2.
Gotcha.
Right, so right now, the city's currently at 6% with 1.5 match, $1.50 match. So I'm trying to put a 7% to 1 match. City's currently at 6%, 1.5 to 1 match.
Okay. You got 6 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you, because y'all know I retired about 2 years ago, almost, a year and a half ago. My company, which was a very large company, they still unmatched you 1-to-1. And, I mean, I was thankful for it. Now I'm thankful for it. But if someone were to say I'm not taking a job with the city because you don't give me 2 to 1 match on my retirement, do we want them as an employee? I mean, I'm not saying they're bad or they could be totally qualified, but if 1.5 match is very good for out there in the real world, okay? I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'd love to give them everything.
Yeah. Personally, I'm not saying one way or another. I think what we have to concern ourselves with, once again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree. This is news to me. We got to remember what we offer to attract talent.
Oh, I get that.
So that's where it comes in.
I get that.
So if they have a chance, to go somewhere else and get more, so be it. I got you. Okay. David, I think you have some more, I believe, police department?
Police department, we're considering asking for one more position for the police department.
Is that why their budget went up so much?
I think there's probably a raise in there too, is there not?
Right, well, yes, we did an adjustment on the raises. That adjustment on the raises, just as an update, we've been able to hire 3 new police officers in the last 4 months. So that adjustment and leveling up with other agencies in the area benefited us. 2 new officers and actually 1 previous officer came back.
So are we even now or are we down 1 still?
So down 1.
So the position that you want to get it back into the budget. You want to get the position back into the budget.
Yes, because we took one away.
Yes.
Right, because I think, okay, we took one away, we
Yeah.
split the money amongst
Correct.
everybody else.
Let's just get.
So now they want to
Okay,
replace
so now
that.
David would like to get that position back into.
Gotcha.
Save on overtime, I presume, and so forth.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
Cut down on overtime and
Right, yes.
plus
I
that.
ensure that-
I understand.
To ensure
I
that.
totally get it.
Huh?
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
We knew this might come.
Right,
Yeah.
so if you look at the, I'm sorry, if you look at the overtime that's been paid in the past, it's almost enough to yes, that's
Yeah.
the thought process. And then, of course, less hours, less fatigue on the officers as far as the decision making and so forth.
Can you email out that list of your notes of things you're increasing in the budget for the reasoning behind them?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Can you email that list of notes that you're reading from as far as why different budget items are being increased?
That would be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Dave, you got anything else real quick you'd like to add?
No, sir, not at the moment. That's just for
Okay.
consideration.
Okay. Once again, remember, guys, at the very first meeting, we do have other business to tend to. Go ahead, Debbie.
I'm sorry.
You got a minute and a half, Debbie.
I get it.
I'm going to time
But
you. Go.
I have a
90
question as to
seconds.
why something isn't this, I thought it should be. On the budget that you sent us, wherever it is here, we're showing for the taxes for this current year, not what we're working on tonight, for this current year, the 23-24, the taxes are different than the taxes received that we thought we'd receive is different. Do you want me just to email it to you so that you can see what I'm talking about? Because I don't want to take 20 minutes of something that might have a really good explanation.
Yes, ma'am. You can email it, that'd be great.
Okay, great.
It's a great idea.
Okay, that takes care of that.
Okay.
It's a big difference.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, do we,
Big change.
guys, we want to go straight to the meeting. Do you need a brief recess? Okay. All right. Okay, do you need a recess of any kind?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, we're about ready to go. We're going to count this down to 7 o'clock. Okay. Guys, I think our budget season is going to be a lot more efficient than last year. And we've got a little bit more prepared ahead of time and such. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about David as city manager. Once again, we're off to a good start. Okay. I'm ready for my phone to click over. All right. Are we still good? Everything's good, Denise? Okay. We now move to the special meeting of tonight's events. My time is 7 o'clock. Moving straight on, agenda item number 2, discuss and consider refurbishing the Warhorse ground storage water tank. Everyone's familiar with that. David, you want to go first and then JR, vice versa? Whatever you want to do.
Just a brief presentation, as you're aware of the conditions of the potential plans on how to repair and put on a maintenance schedule the infrastructure. We got a presentation from Mike McGuire previously, and I'm going to ask JR from Garcia and Ray to come back and give his presentation on what his decision-making process was for us to go out to build a new tank. So, Mr. Garcia, you're welcome to step up to the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take it too long here. Perhaps 20 copies.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Say good evening, council.
Can you try to get the mic to you? Kinda, I guess. It's a tough one. We always have a hard time at the podium. Okay, all right.
And the way we came out, the ground storage tank, this was from the previous administration. Of course, with this ground storage tank, every year we have to have an inspection done on all the tanks in the city. And Mr. Von Karen makes these inspections and gives us a report every year. And actually, one is due again next month for the ground storage tank. What I have here in the packet, I've put a couple of emails in here that kind of discuss my conversations with the first two emails from two different tank builders. And like the first tank builder from Mr. Cromer, he discusses what he sees there as being the highlighted area, where it starts with the roof and likely a few feet of shell. If you'll read that.
Got it.
Okay. And if you go to page 3, this is with BBB Tank Services. Of course, when I was looking at this back in 2022, at the time we were looking for repairs. We went out to the tank builders. We asked them to look at the inspection report and give us a cost to do repairs to the tank. Almost all of them said that they wouldn't even touch the tank. It's too dangerous. The structure is unstable. And that's what the second email from BBB Tank Service says. That it's just, if you just read what's in highlighted areas. Now on page 5, this is the inspection report from 2023 of the Warhorse tank. What I did last week is I know that when he does these inspection reports, he's supposed to give us a recommendation as to what he thinks needs to be done to the tank, either to do repairs or whatever he thinks. So I noticed that we didn't have any kind of recommendation, so I called him to ask him for that. And let me see here. So you go to page 18. This is Mr. Perrin's response to my phone call, asking him for his recommendation on what we need to do on the tank. And you can see in the highlighted areas what he said.
So you don't have a recommendation from Caleb Ritchie?
No.
Okay.
And this goes back to our prior Public Works Director doing research and trying to find somebody to do repairs, and he couldn't find anybody.
This is just Friday.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he just recommends that basically that we need a new tank. I wasn't here for the presentation last council meeting, so I can't comment on what she said or they said. But based on what I've seen in the inspection report, based on the tank builders I've talked to and got emails from, and also based from Mr. Perrin's recommendation, who is a tank inspector. That's what he does for his living. I feel like we made the right choice to replace this because I do feel like it's something that needs immediate attention. And doing a repair is not going to help. One of the things that you have to consider when you do these repairs is that you do sandblasting. You have to empty the tank, sandblast it. The steel walls, if you can just, you've seen the pictures, and of course there's some more pictures in the back. The steel on this tank is extremely rusted and eroded, and it's pretty much falling apart. You can see there are holes in the wall of the tank. And you have to remember these pictures were from 2 years ago. So let's think about 2 years of weather and just being exposed to the elements. Plus, it's probably a lot worse than what we're looking at right now. And so my concern is to, I just seem to be, for my engineering team, I need to protect the public from anything that might be dangerous to the public.
And that's what, this is why we chose to order a new tank. And get
Yes.
the $2 million loan and all of that.
Yes, we had all this information back then, but of course we didn't have Mr. Perrin's recommendation at that time, but now we do.
So these pictures here, are these from Mr. Perrin?
Yes.
Okay, from Friday.
Oh, these pictures are from 2 years ago.
Oh,
So I see some indications here. Clearly, the roof needs to be replaced. But when we last spoke in 2023 at some point, you were confident the walls were paper thin.
Yes.
And everyone in here obviously wants to build a new tank. We understand that. That's the way of doing business. However, I'm only seeing one of them show some indication there that there might be some sort of foundation problem. I guess some bolts on the foundation. I'm not a tank guy, so I don't claim to be the expert here. How do we mitigate this in the future, and why do we not have a process of, because all of them say here, if we start digging into this, it could turn into a more expensive can of worms fixing it.
Yes.
Why couldn't we get anyone to give a bid for repair versus replacement, or some different COAs, so that we could start digging into it and then pivot if we determined it was going to become too expensive? It'd be cheaper to drain the whole tank than it would be to replace it to figure that stuff out.
It's going to be very expensive, first of all, because you have to drain the tank. And one thing you have to consider is that water comes from those 2 wells, Doc, for Edwards wells. They pump to the ground storage tank, which from there, we have high service pumps that pump them to the elevated tanks, which pressurizes the system. Now, if we take this tank out of commission, we no longer have a pressurized system. And so and because of our lack of storage in other places, and because obviously the condition is really poor, I almost feel like it's an emergency situation where I feel like you really need a tank right now because you don't have a backup plan.
Can I ask a question? So the presentation we saw at the last meeting, didn't they cover all of this?
We didn't have the other storage tank up to snuff at that point, so we didn't have a backup plan. He was coming out, this was the only storage tank.
So I just remember her giving us pictures of the water tower, but wasn't she also talking to us about that ground storage tank?
the ground storage tank mainly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she went ahead and inspected the water tower. But the one thing I'll point out real quick, and they had a backup plan to keep the system pressurized.
Correct.
While everything was being done, drain the tank, sandblast, and all the repair that they were talking about.
Yeah.
So they did have a backup plan to keep everything going. Okay, so just want to point that out in case everybody missed
Yeah, that's
that.
what I thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I forget, I didn't go to my notes. I don't know that I took notes. The lady that came in and gave us the presentation on it, how much was it she said she could fix that tank for?
It was under 600,000. Yeah, 500,000 or so. She said that, and once again, I'm not making a judgment, but she said that welded steel can last for a long, long, long time.
And I understand her. My question is that here's a guy saying a year and a half ago, that it was 900,000. And, we're talking inflation today. I don't know that we want to trust this to repair it, for it to be a goner, and then what if we repair this and get rid of, cancel the order of what we got going? This is 72 years old. And I know she said she had one that she's
She had a
taken care
couple
of
that were over
for 100 years.
Yeah.
That still only gives us 30 more years. Okay, I realize I'm not going to be here then,
I don't know about you, but I'm working on it.
I know, I'm trying, but I'm just saying, in all reality, in another 70 years, I'd much rather us have something that's going to last us that much longer than just another 30-year mark.
I'd have to go back and look at that presentation, but she gave us a folder on, if I'm not mistaken.
She did.
But I just remember some kind of warranty that they were going with that. We went with their maintenance plan or something. And I'm just speaking from memory since I don't have that with me. But David, do you remember any more than that, or does anybody else?
She said there was minor pitting on the walls, so to the point it was excellent condition as far as the walls. The roof does need a complete total repair.
Yeah.
And all these other folks pointed out the exact same issue she did.
Yeah, okay.
She just had some testing device to test the thickness.
Every single thing I've seen of somebody that had a report on it, or some of them didn't even go inside or take pictures inside, clearly the roof must be replaced.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, and the last presentation we had, that was the first thing she spoke about, but she mentioned that everything else could be salvaged and such. So even, Kyle Cromer, for example, roof's got to go, right? They got all kinds of pictures of corrosion at the top, rainwater getting in and such. He says interior was found in fair condition due to hard staining and surface corrosion on the roof and the walls. And that was noted by the previous presentation also, but that could be remedied and restored, is what she said. Okay, so that's a yes, ma'am.
So, we've already ordered the ground storage tank, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's being made as we speak.
It's been, go ahead, Dave.
The plans are about 70% complete. I was told to put it on hold to turn it into TCEQ. So I have the plan and specs ready, but I'm just holding.
I just love that. Okay, so let's pretend it's being made at this moment because that's what we all thought was happening. We have a plan. Let's get the new tank. Is there a reason, I'm not saying to do it exactly at the same time, get the new tank, get it going, have us all in good standing that way, and then maybe in the next budget season, budget to have the old tank repaired, and then then we'll have double. We have a backup plan. We're next to each other.
I don't disagree with the logic, but I think there's 1.5 million reasons.
Second that motion.
I think that's the reason right there. And so, I think we have to give consideration to that because we're not exactly rolling in the dough here.
She said that the integrity,
The financing was 2.5.
she said that the integrity of the metal was good all the way around. It was just the top, because it's an old one. So I guess when the water gets dumped in, of course you get kind of like bubbles, not carbon, but and it sits on top of the metal. So the water does deteriorate, okay, because of the gases and everything else. That's why she was talking about a mixer, remember?
And the fact that the venting was inadequate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So The integrity of the steel, because they got machines now that they can magnetize on that metal.
Yeah.
And it x-rays, it checks the integrity of it, how thick it is and where's the weak spot at. So I'm pretty sure when she got up there, that's why she said, I ain't gonna step any further, you know?
Citizens of Devine have been very clear they would prefer no water than the continued condition of streets. So I'm going to say we move with repair and not replace yet.
We also have on Mr. Perrin's report from this past Friday, it would appear normal maintenance was neglected for decades. The roof has had holes for many years. Action for this tank long overdue. Everybody shares that concern, as did the previous presentation. He goes on to say, the two options are a lot of welding, sandblasting, and painting. This is exactly what the previous presenter is proposing. Or a new modern system and tank, because this tank will need a new roof. The possibility of sandblasting, punching holes inside walls would multiply the current bid and such. It does sound like it is an option. It's just going to change the bid. So,
You did tell us exactly that, JR. Okay, I'll give you that.
so.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a tank that's been neglected, and your previous presentation says that, oh, we can make these tanks last for 100 years, but that's on the circumstance.
No, she didn't exactly say that.
Yeah.
She said that she has tanks that she's refurbished that are now 100 years old.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
But based on the maintenance problems, lack of maintenance, I should say, you have to consider the roof was built the same time as walls. If the roof's steel is in that condition, you have to know that the sidewalls are probably just as bad.
Okay, the steps coming out of my pole look perfect below the water level, but where that water continues to evaporate and refill, that's where you get the corrosion. Same thing with that water tank. You get a ton of corrosion on the roof there where the condensation happens due to lack of proper venting and the water level dropping and rising. Around that level, you're going to get a lot of corrosion. So I have to absolutely disagree with the premise on the entire tank being corroded like that.
And that's what when she went over in that presentation, was the fact the venting was completely inappropriate. So the new roof would have the proper venting.
And she emphasized the venting that. That was the main reason why the roof was there, because of the venting.
And instituting proper maintenance going forward, maybe we don't get another 30 or 50 years out of it, maybe we get another 10, 20. Either way, 10, 20 years to spread out $2 to $5 million, whatever it inflates to at that point, I feel much more comfortable with that.
So you'd rather fix it now and have it last 10 or 20?
Personally, I feel like if it's maintained properly after that, it will last much longer than that.
Maybe.
And maybe when the city's in a better position 20 years from now, they can put a new. Well, I mean, I don't see us shrinking. I see a wave coming down the road towards us. So I personally feel like maybe the position we're in right now, I mean, I'm in favor of going with the original presentation and solutions that we've already seen. I don't know if we need a motion here tonight or what we're looking for on the subject.
I just don't understand why we've got two people here saying it's not repairable. Well, it might be repairable. One person's saying it definitely can be repaired, but we're going to say these people, no, we're going to just take their word for it.
Maybe if you read it, one person says it's not repairable, the other one says it can be repaired.
Possibly, yes.
And the lady says it can be repaired.
Right.
So it's actually two against one, if you're gonna go that route.
I'm just saying, I'm leery.
And didn't we already have an experience with the lady fixing the other tank?
It wasn't as near a bad tank as this is. That tank was just being
One other thing to point out, you just said that if the roof was in that horrible condition, then the sides must be the same. The subject you presented here, I mean, if that was true, then this gentleman here, who actually has pictures of the interior, okay, says interior found in fair condition due to hard staining and surface corrosion on the roof and wall. You know, so
There are pictures.
so it's kind of going back and forth. You know,
I think we all agree that something has to be done and has been neglected for a long time. I think it's just about the solution. And, you know, I like the fact we've had experience with the company that's already done good work. And if they're willing to stand behind their work, which obviously they are, they've been in business a long time, and do a lot of work for other cities. I'm not negating what these reports are saying at all. In fact, I think we're all saying the same thing. It's just a matter of like taking a different path. And
What do we do? She gets in there and realizes it can't be repaired.
We have $2.5 million ready.
Then we have to pay her for her work and the $2.5 million.
and I don't think that's exactly
No,
how
that
that
isn't what
works.
she presented. If she gets in there and it can't be repaired, you don't pay her.
Well, we still have to pay her something for her work. That's what I'm
That I
saying.
don't know for certain about.
Let me get your question.
Pete, that asked, they refurbished the main well, all that was done and completed. If you please give us your impression of the company and the work that they did on the main well, please.
Yes, sir. They did do a good job. The only thing, when they were sandblasting the bottom of the tank,
The bottom tank, what?
it blew a hole in it.
Yeah,
And that tank had water in it also.
yeah.
So
So what
I'm
are
just
we-
worried something like that's going to happen.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm worried something like that's going to happen to the other tank.
Yeah.
But the main well, it did blow a hole in it when they were sandblasting it.
Oh, so it's not usable right now?
No, they fixed it.
Oh, they fixed
Yeah,
it.
they repaired it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So that's what I'm figuring.
Yeah, she mentioned that.
But other than that, they did a good job.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Just for clarity, company did not do the work. Company did the inspection and made recommendations, and then we went out for bid for another company to come in and do the work. So the company we're talking about did not physically do the work at the main one. It was a bid. Bid went out, was awarded, and the company came in and fixed it based on recommendations of the inspection.
Question, have we paid Mr. Wright for his engineering on this ground tank yet?
We paid for portions of, yes, design and the boring and electrical.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else to put out there? If you got it, put it out there. So,
Just for clarity also with the, as far as, so there's no misunderstanding in reference to if the decision is made to fix the tank, the remainder of the money has to be used on water infrastructure type projects. Cannot be streets, cannot be buildings, has to be within the realm of the water, wastewater infrastructure projects.
Well, our sewer and water budget is so blown, it's going to be easy to go with that.
I don't think that's going to be hard to do.
No.
I was going to say,
I'm pretty sure we need it.
of course, you cannot spend it and return the remainder. So.
It's going to be easy.
Right.
So anyway, there are your options, everybody. Okay, we have a company that believes it can be brought back to life and last for many, many years, save us a couple $1 million. And then we also have another opinion that believes it needs to be a complete new one.
Can we look at a later meeting, look at some, the options here? I mean, Debbie and Pete, they did bring up a good point there. If something happens in the midst of repair, then what do we owe them for their service? And then how much do we have left to create a ground storage tank? I just feel more comfortable with it now because we do have other storage tanks now that we can rely on as backups.
That I don't know, personally. I mean, we all saw the same presentation.
Yep. Well, it's more of a, it'll be the actual contract of statement of work.
Yeah, I don't think that was discussed, but, I mean, she did go on considerably about welded steel and what have you, about its integrity and such, remember that? So, and that was as a matter of fact, she said that's the only reason that they would consider refurbishing this tank is because it's welded steel. So, I don't know if all tanks are welded steel. I have no idea. I'm just repeating what she told us.
I think she was saying that there's some tanks that are bolted. That's a problem.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that the difference?
Yes.
Thank you.
Tanks.
Yeah.
All of the tanks.
Okay, so she says since it wasn't a bolted tank, then she felt very, very confident about refurbishing, restoring the existing tank. So, tough choice. Sure, I'll entertain a motion right now. If we don't have any more discussion.
What do we make a motion for?
Well, I'll make a motion that we pursue repairing the tank
Refurbishing.
and move forward on that front.
Okay, we have a motion from Jeff to refurbish the tank and move on in that direction and not get a new one.
I'll second that.
We have a second from Michael. Our procedures allow further discussion. Anything else? Okay. All in favor of the motion? All right. Opposed? Motion carries 4-1, but Debbie opposing. Okay.
Would we have to go out to bid
HJR.
for the refurbishing?
Ma'am?
Would we have to go out to to bid for the renovation or refurbishing?
What we do?
Okay, I'm
We do
just,
satisfy- yeah,
just
yeah.
asking,
Yeah, we learned that lesson
yeah. Just want to be,
here recently.
nice.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, we do need to go out and put that out for bid. Okay. Moving on, agenda item number 4. Discuss and consider invoices to submit under the ramp grant.
Why are we skipping item 3?
Oh, my bad. I scratched that off. That's why we have the audience here. Agenda item number 3. Moving backwards. Discuss and consider the RFQs for the following. A, city engineer. B, city attorney. And C, IT technology services. All right, David, your mic, sir.
Yes, City Council instructed me to go out for RFQ for city engineer, attorney, IT, and actually auditors as well. We received a lot of good input from different companies, and I just want to go to the possibility of having a preferred vendors list to the council, so we could use different engineering services. What I put in your packet was from the IT, was from Techgration, was one company for IT. Another company was our current existing company, James, as our IT specialist. Excuse me.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How many quotes or submissions did you receive per field?
Good question.
Yes, sir. IT, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 IT companies.
Okay, well, for each one,
I'm sorry?
engineering and attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry. For each one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How about engineering?
No, I thought you said for everything.
Well, I'm saying for
engineering.
each, essentially, how many did you get for each category? And then my follow-on question is, how did you go about making selections?
Okay, so for engineering, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 engineers. I reviewed the packages and did some interviews, and chose from there to make a recommendation to the council.
So what drove you to only provide one different solution from our current list versus giving us multiple?
Because I didn't want to give a whole big laundry list of different vendors, but just recommended a couple that we could go with instead of having the same vendors that we've had in the past. So basically, as far as for competitiveness and options. So it's not uncommon for a city to have like a preferred vendor list where.
Oh, I love that idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, so this is what I just brought forward. I have all the packets if y'all like to see them and choose some more, but this is what I brought forward for consideration.
Do you anticipate adding more to the preferred vendor list as time goes on, or do you want to keep it like a finite number?
I can add more, absolutely. I mean, we could add however many you would like to add, you know what I'm saying? But these are the ones that I just pressed forward to present to the council for tonight. So if you would like, sorry, go ahead.
I like the idea myself of having those vendors, and if you vetted them and that's, I don't have any objection to any of those that I read through.
So one of my criteria was from my own experience with working with some of the companies as well as previous cities was a consideration as far as putting them on the list.
So I did read, I've talked to both of the folks, for IT. I've talked to James a lot. I got in touch with this company, both excellent choice. I'm not upset with the choice. However, the RFP was not, I would say, detailed enough. No one got to see a network map, get the idea about what sort of software we're running, what our current infrastructure looks like, and they didn't get that good idea of the detailed needs we need so that we get really competitive proposals from folks. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to hit the hardest on that one, that's my background, but I would really like to see us go out for proposals again, but provide more information. If they're only basing a proposal off the number of users, we're not getting an effective proposal back.
I had some professional people outside the city look at the proposal that went out prior to it going out. They said it's sufficient for the person to be able, the company, to make a proposal what they would do for the city. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you don't tell them everything that you have. You kind of present what can they bring to the table to help the city be more secure and update the equipment and so forth. So my experience as I've been here is we've kind of been lacking in the IT area as far as investment, and a lot of our equipment right now is at the end of life and so forth and so on. So I'm not necessarily sure it's a lack of service, but potentially lack of knowledge or understanding or commitment to bring our security posture for the city of Devine, make it more hardened, because as we know, everybody's getting hacked and ransomed and all that other stuff. So.
Well, that's the core reason I would like to see more detail go out in these RFPs. I reached out to a few of the companies that, through my professional network, folks said that they did good work. I said, hey, you folks submitted a proposal. Some of them, yes, some of them, no, we can't, we're not hearing anything back. And to the most important point is that James does an excellent job on some of these things. Some things I'd like to see elsewhere, but piecemealing things out to the company that provides the absolute best service or best quality for that service is really important. Again, a one-size-fits-all solution, that doesn't make sense. We don't have someone doing, we wouldn't pay a company to come in and do water towers and sewer and streets and et cetera, et cetera. Same thing for having someone give quotes for lawn mowing service. We wouldn't just say, we have 112 acres in the city, mow it. Well, is that all airstrip that's easy, or is it weed eating around swing sets and doing janitorial work inside the city office? I mean, folks need to know a little bit more detail about that so they can say, we're really good at this aspect. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it makes sense. However, the RFQ was about 3 or 4 pages long. I thought it was quite extensive, but if you think otherwise, we can...
I never actually got to see an original copy. I don't want to dig too much into these folks. I don't want to insert myself too much into business there, just the ones that my professional circle said are really good companies. And about half of them said we just didn't get enough information. So
So when I ran the RFQ, I ran it for a period of time, and then I also ran it for a period of question and answer time, additional week. And it said that in that if you have any questions, please forward them to the city, to my email address. Some companies did that, and some companies didn't. Some companies did a follow-up, came in for an interview, physical follow-up, and sit down for, ask questions and so forth. So that's how I came to the conclusion. Still have all the packets. If we want to increase the vendor list, or you want to see all the packets, of course, you're the council, you're able to do that. But that's just my recommendation. Of course, instead of just having one city attorney, one city engineer, and so forth, we can expand our capabilities and still solve the same issues, maybe even more all at the same time. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay, so for engineers, we have 5 send in stuff, and 2 of those are what you've chosen for us to look over. On for attorney, how many did we have send in for attorney?
3.
I'm gonna keep this going. 3, and so we've got 2 that you gave us.
Yes, ma'am.
And then for IT, how many total? Probably 5.
A bunch of those.
Because you had 13. So, and you've given us 2 to look at, correct?
And 5 IT. First of all, I'll give you the total.
Okay, cool beans. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. So you've given us your 2 top choices, so to
Right.
speak.
So to speak, right?
Okay.
Well, and I do think that's a place to start.
Yeah.
It's not exactly etched in concrete.
Right.
When you're doing a vendor list, that vendor list can change. You can come back and approve somebody else to be placed on the list. So I kind of agree that, it not only do they propose what their services are, which should include everything, I don't think we can also negate our city attorney's network within the other administrators in our area who have experience working with some of these people, which is no doubt how he arrived at some of those decisions. So for me, I think this is not really that complicated. We have a vendor list. He's opting to start out with it being small, and 2 years from now, that list may be bigger, and some people may need to fall off the list. But I do like the idea, personally.
So with the vendor list, how do we go out then for specific services? I'm thinking email right off the top. How would we go about that, since we got quotes from both of them, and the new one is very much underbid as far as I can tell. So there will absolutely be cost overruns for that one because they don't know enough of what we have. But if we want to just part out the one thing of email, how do we do that? How do we choose between the 2 people on our vendor list, between James and them? And do we just ask them both for bids, or can we then bring in other people, or?
Well, it depends on what the job is. It might not have to ask for bid at all. For one vendor might have a specialty that the other one don't. Primarily like the engineers, one might be hydraulic or infrastructure, or one might be straight streets, or everybody has their specialty and their strengths. So we can pick and choose. To me, it allows the city to be able to have a deeper bench, so to speak, to choose from. Depends on what project we're going. Of course, if you hit a certain threshold cost-wise, and then has to be given out for consideration. But every project we have in the city don't necessarily always have to go out for bid. There's things that we can do, and we just might need some engineering advice. Without having to do the whole complete rollout.
Well, we'd really like to see more folks in the IT bench. I mean, it seems like the legal one is really deep. They cover everything.
Right.
The engineering one, in fact, they know what the different types of ditches and swales and stuff sounds incredible for the drainage needs we have here in Devine.
I think what we need to decide here this evening is to, if you want to open it up or not for preferred vendors.
Oh, okay.
Preferred contractors and vendors and such. Okay, so you might have 3 preferred vendors in one category, 4 in another, 2 in another, and so forth. So obviously the great idea, and obviously most of us, we have nowhere near the IT knowledge that you have, right? So that would seem to be what we're talking about here, is if we want to create a pool of vendors and contractors that, plus there's the preferred vendors that would be more similar to our contracted positions. So an example that comes to mind for me would be, once again, I like our city attorney. I have no problems with him. But back when the airport thing was going on and so forth, another attorney had to be hired because certain things, the eminent domain subject was out of his scope.
Their specialty.
Yeah, so, because I believe, I think one of the law firms or what have you has quite a few lawyers on staff, and they each have a specialty, and if they were not preferred vendor for us, then we would have that at our disposal, and it gives us a lot more flexibility on things that we can and can't do. It gives David a lot more flexibility, and so forth. So, and then the other thing to me is that David, the secretary, and what have you, they're in their trenches. They have a lot more knowledge about this than us sitting here trying to decide who should be this vendor for this and for that and what have you. So,
I have no problem with that. I'd like to make a motion that we have a preferred vendor list for the city, and that we start with these recommendations that are being made, and that the list can be added to or taken away from as the city administrator sees fit.
Okay. All right, we have a motion from Jeff that we put together a preferred vendor list, that the vendor list can be added to, and whatever else is necessary. Is that good enough, Jeff? Yeah. Okay. All right. Do I have a second? We have a second from Michael. Anything further? All in favor? Oh, okay, Debbie, go
I
ahead.
have a question. The vendor list, preferred vendor list, does that mean that, and I'm just using this as an example, Tom is the city attorney, but if we had this other attorney on the list for some other specialty that Tom doesn't have time, he could go to. Is that what this is that we still will go to Tom for our normal, everyday, all the time stuff, but if there hits
I think what it means is that the city administrator has a little bit more flexibility in who gets used off of the list for different functions. Correct?
Yes, sir. So it would, exactly, we do a letter of engagement with the other company, and then we would use them, other law firm, as we saw fit as the things needs arise. That's what that would mean. So they would, but not on the retainer where we're paying them something every month. If we're there, they're there when we need them. If we need to tap into their expertise, we can do that. If Tom is out of town on vacation or whatever, and somebody needs to step in and sit in for a city council meeting, we can call, they can come, and
Oh, we've done that before.
It's, okay, we do have a motion and a second. I do have a question. Jeff, in your motion, because I understand this to be, in other words, we don't have a designated attorney. We don't have a designated city engineer. We have a preferred list that we can pull from. Is it your wish to, for example, like Debbie said, was go to one main attorney or go to one main contractor, and if they cannot perform for us, then we try to get someone else? Or are we talking about we have all, I interpret it as we have a pool to choose from at any time that David sees fit.
That was my intention, because that's the way a vendor list works. And the city administrator should be in charge of that list. And if one of us has a recommendation for somebody to be placed on the list, I think we would give that recommendation to him and let him do his research on that. But we do need to allow those people who are closest in the trenches to decide who's going to get used for what. This gives them the flexibility to do that and perhaps save cost or get more specialty in one area or the other. That's no different than other government entities that have a vendor list. You ought to look at the Devine ISD and see their vendor list someday. They have a huge vendor list. And it is a matter of, like, you know, people in the leadership roles need to have the control over that. You know, just like the school board doesn't approve people on the vendor list, superintendent and his office does. So it should be no different in this case.
Well, okay, just real quick though, we're basically trying to differentiate, okay, obviously a vendor list can be a mile long. We are trying to differentiate between a pool of preferred people that we have.
That's correct.
So none of them would be designated. So
That's
we
how I
wouldn't have
understand
a
it.
quote city attorney or quote city engineer. We have a list of ones you can go to.
David?
And the other part of your
Motion.
you stated that David would have the authority to add and delete. That means we don't know who's ever on the list again after tonight.
Good point.
Okay, I don't like that either.
Well, I think that's kind of, yeah, I mean, and if we need to be updated, then I think that's fair,
No.
right?
That gives him, not you personally, David, it gives the position, the decision to change anything without our knowledge.
Well, I think this transition is like, the reason for the question, and it's a good question, is because you've been used to having one designated source that gets all of the work, and that's what it is. And when you do a vendor list, it becomes then you have options. And I think that's really isn't that what you're looking for, David?
Right. So historical knowledge can be replaced, obviously, right? And dollar-wise. So we can have law firms that represent the city. We can have multiple law firms that represent the city. We don't have to have one designated city attorney. We can have multiple that we can tap into to get to contract with. I mean, technically we can do it right now, just like I said with the airport situation. But
And isn't that common practice?
Right, there's multiple cities, yes.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying that other portion of that, where that position gets to decide and choose, you're on the list, you're off the list, you're on the list, you're on the
So
list.
you're wanting to put the council in charge?
I agree with you.
I don't like that part.
I agree with you.
If we have to vote on this,
Right.
both things, then no, because you're giving,
Okay.
everything that we need to know is going out the window.
Okay, and if y'all want to start that way.
But you've already got a second, so we have to vote.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's a wonderful point. I was going to say the same thing. So,
I agree with that, Bob.
outstanding. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All right. We have a vote. And, okay, once again, we can always have another motion, et cetera. But we do have a vote. If somebody's in favor of that as written, where Mr. Jordan determines who gets on the preferred vendor list, okay? Just letting you know. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, Mike, you are in favor of the initial motion?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, opposed? Okay. Abstain? Okay. Jeff, even though you made the motion, you still need to...
Yeah, and I did. I raised my
okay,
hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Okay.
What did you vote for or against?
I voted for it. However, I'm just so you know, if since we're at this point.
Okay, so we have a tie.
Should have abstained.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have a tie. Michael and Jeff voted in favor. Ray and
Me.
Debbie voted against. I will break the tie with a negative vote. I'm not in favor of that motion.
You're in favor of it?
I am not in favor.
Oh, not, sorry.
Okay, so can I make a new motion?
Okay, right. That ends that motion. Okay, yes, the table's open again for any further motions.
Okay, so I make a motion that we move forward with a preferred vendor list and that the city council remain in control of who is placed on the list or taken off. That's what everybody wants.
Okay, we have a motion from Jeff that we create a preferred vendor list. As discussed, and the city council must approve who gets on to that vendor list, preferred vendor list.
But I do intend for the motion to include approval of the vendors presented tonight.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Say that again?
we'll do,
So I'm
we can do one.
Yeah.
We can do one, and then we can follow with another.
Yeah.
Okay, we've already got this out there. So, the motion from Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, that the city create a preferred vendor list upon recommendation by the city administrator and approved by the city council for each vendor. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a second from Ray. All in favor? Opposed? All right. Motion carries 4-1. Debbie opposed.
And now I'll make a motion that we accept the vendors that David has presented onto that preferred vendor list tonight.
Okay, we have a motion from Jeff to accept the recommended preferred vendors by City Administrator Mr. Jordan. Have a
Comments?
second?
No, I have comments.
Oh, we need a second.
All right,
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second from Josh. Go ahead, Josh.
David, when can we expect more extensions to our preferred vendor list?
That's another, that would be different.
That's tonight,
I will
obviously.
email them to you tonight. Everybody that submitted, I will email it to the council when y'all let y'all take a look at all the packets and then we'll go from there.
Is this going to be, is it going to be super difficult to put out for more RFPs for any of them in the future, or?
No, you can still put up an RFP anytime. I mean, these RFPs, the RFP, the city council has the authority, option to choose some of them, none of them, or all of them. You know what I'm saying? So,
I guess my objective is as we move forward and folks hear, okay, city's actually open to changing things, we would like to offer this specific service. How do we create an easier process for essentially folks to apply? And maybe you don't necessarily have to have the answer now, but it is, I guess, my expectation in casting the vote.
Okay. Once again, we're talking preferred vendors. We have the motion that preferred vendor list created upon recommendation by city administrator and approval by council. Okay? So, That's that motion. Otherwise, you got to change it. So this cannot be a system to where he sends you, each person on council, 5 people to choose from. It needs to be chosen by the city administrator and his staff. Then we either approve or disapprove. Now, obviously, each of you can make a recommendation to Mr. Jordan if you come across someone or what have you, but you got to streamline this. It has to be effective. And if you just do this, okay, then we're not accomplishing what we need to do.
No, and that's going to become a really cumbersome responsibility of the council. We really need our administrator and staff to vet these and then bring us their recommendation. I mean, we can turn somebody in for them to look at, but I think at that point, you know, they need to whittle it down.
Okay, remember the motion on the table, the motion and second on the table is to approve the nominated vendor list that we received this week in our packet and such. Okay, so we have a motion and second. Anything further? This is,
So there's no primary person no more.
Right.
That's basically what we're
Exactly,
voting on.
that's just what you voted for.
yeah, correct.
But then, I understand what I voted for, I mean, because I work in the oil industry, and we have lots of vendors.
Yeah.
Well, we do have primary vendors for construction, for the maintenance, IT guys. I mean,
I doubt whether that's going to change too much.
yeah, I don't think it'll change them because normally we go with primary guys all the time, so. But I think if one person can't do it, it's open up to somebody else to do the job for us, you know? And we got several attorneys probably sitting here right now waiting to stand up at that podium right now, so I'm ready to.
Well, and I think that's something we have to allow our staff to do.
Yeah.
We have a city administrator now, and that's really his responsibility, is to pick the right man for the job, so.
Okay.
That's on the superintendents for us, you know, so.
Those are great points. Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-1 again, and Debbie opposes. Okay? Good work, guys. Good discussion. Agenda item number 4, discuss and consider invoices to submit under the RAMP grant. Okay, David, you remain with the microphone, sir.
Yes, sir. Under the ramp grant, we had a ramp program that used to be a 50-50 match, and then we changed it to a 10% match on the city side. We agreed to that back in, I think it was August. We also had some work that needed to be done in years 8 and 8 alpha, which was bid out. Vortex got the bid, and it was requested that we would bring back the receipts to the council to consider before the payments of the ramp grant were made. So this is a receipt from Vortex that has done the work out at hangar 8 and 8 alpha.
So instead, go ahead.
To clarify, this is that ramp grant that continues on our clock for 20 years of repayment, yeah?
Yes.
So if we ever wanted to stop having it, we would have to stop accepting some money or prepare to pay it back in the future.
That's good.
Yes.
They always hook you for
Since we already found out we can't sell it,
20 years.
why not take them?
But you know, we own all those hangars out there. We're stuck
That's a
for
whole
20
other
years.
ballgame.
I guarantee you, since we own those hangars, we're stuck for 20 years anyway.
So these invoices, instead of taking out of, I'm just going to use the Vortex as an example, that $16,000 or $14,000 for the first invoice that popped up. We had originally said that was going to come out of the budget. Like we had put that into we amended the budget for the airport. So instead, what you're telling me is that we're going to put the ramp grant towards this and only 10% of that we're going to take out of the budget? Is that what you're
Isn't it a
saying?
reimbursement?
That's the city council decision, yes ma'am. So since we have money in the ramp grant, if we want to use that money to pay for that repair, then it can be done that way, right?
Excellent. So the work hasn't been done on 8 and 8A yet?
Yes.
The work has been done.
Okay. Doesn't it have to be completed work?
It has to be completed completed work, and we have to pay the invoices before we can submit to.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so we'll get reimbursed
Yes,
90%.
ma'am. So it's still going to be paid by the city budget. And then we're going to get 90% back as a reimbursement.
Correct.
And it also has a caveat that that money is also dedicated to be spent
To the airport.
on the airport.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that's how all the rec
Right,
grants
right.
have
So-
always been.
right.
But I was just saying, so technically, when we get down to it, some of these, first thing, didn't we already have a project zeroed in on this ramp grant? When we said yes to the 9010 ramp grant, didn't we have a project that we were going to put towards it?
Yeah.
Yes.
We were gonna do the drainage, but then I think
Open the
council,
microphone, we can't hear you.
we were gonna do the drainage.
Yes.
And I think council decided to, because of the fact that what Josh is saying about having to pay the grants back, we got approved just to go ahead and apply and get it, but to hold off.
Hold off if we were going to use it or not.
Yeah.
So tonight, we're deciding if we're using it or not, and do we want to use it to, was the entire ramp grant going to cover that drainage project? I remember the project, I just don't remember the number.
I don't remember the number off the top of my head, Danny.
I don't think we have to encumber the money tonight. You just have to agree to receive the reimbursement.
No, I know, but in years past, when we said yes, that we'll take a ramp grant, we always had a project
Yeah.
in mind to use it for, and so the drainage one, which drainage is a problem out there, where they're talking about. I just don't remember if it was gonna take the whole grant or not. Like, it could very well be that it's only part of the grant, and this would be wonderful if we could put these invoices towards the ramp grant.
Can the,
See?
Get rid of sales
Denise,
tax.
Dora,
Sales tax.
can a water well
Yeah,
be
they have to
considered
take
as
that
part of the ramp grant?
The airport water well?
Yes.
We have to check with them to see if we can apply, because it is a maintenance.
I think we did check before. We'd have to double check, but I know that we had checked at one time. And I think that there's something else that they use for those wells, to do a well. I don't think it's the actual grant.
Okay.
Pretty sure we can.
Well,
Fire
You can
suppression.
check.
what is it?
Oh, there's another grant for
Routine
wells?
airport maintenance program?
Probably.
That's what RAMP stands for, so it may not qualify under that, that's why I was asking. Okay, but I'm sure the other does, obviously, drainage.
Josh just brought up a really good idea, or pointed
All
out.
my ideas are great.
The sales tax, we don't pay that, right?
Correct. we
It's
don't-
on the invoice, we have to take that off, right?
Yeah, we don't pay sales tax.
Okay, just very good catch. You need an attaboy.
Need a sticker.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, we have on the table, we need to decide if we want to accept the RAMP grant and obligate the city for another 20 years with TxDOT.
Only one more year, not another 20 years. One more year. It's a rolling 20 years.
Is it not a 20-year commitment?
No,
Yes.
well, it's a 20-year commitment, but we're adding one more year onto it. Because last year we accepted it. Because we've accepted it every year for 20 years, we're now increasing our commitment to one more year.
Still gonna be.
So starting today, it'll be another 20 years that we are.
Yeah.
Well, each grant has its own life,
20 years.
okay? It's not one grant, one encompassing grant. They're separate grants, and right, each one has
We're splitting hairs.
shelf
Not meant
life.
to be split.
Gotcha. Either way, 20 years, I don't care how you
So
slice
it's
it.
just the two invoices.
Okay.
Two invoices. The
For now.
14,930 and the 15,858.
For now, yes.
Okay, just these two.
30,000
Just
something.
check.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we pay back, or I make payment on the completed work at the airport to Vortex, minus the sales tax.
Okay, we have a motion to pay the invoices to Vortex. Be sure to have them credit the sales tax. Do I have a second?
Oh, that's.
Oh, wait, it's to accept the RAMP grant.
Oh,
it's-
yeah. I need
it's
to
a-
add that to it.
And accept the ramp grant and amend the budget appropriately.
We have to accept the grant. We haven't accepted this one, have we?
Yes, I did.
Oh, we already did.
We
There you
accepted
go.
it.
Okay, we just got to pick
Are we going to
invoices.
use it? That's what this is about.
Yeah, we just got to pick invoices and how we're going to use it. Oh, okay.
It had already accepted it, it was a 50-50 match, then recently, a couple months ago, they went from a 90-10 match back with the city, so we accepted it again.
Okay.
Under those provisions.
I'll amend my motion. I make a motion that we accept the ramp grant to reimburse the city for payment of the Vortex invoices minus sales tax.
Okay, we have a motion from Josh to accept the new terms of the ramp grant and pay the invoices on hangars 8 and 8A from Vortex minus the sales tax. Did I get it?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second from Debbie. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
That was hard.
Okay, agenda item number 5, informational items. Anybody have anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Where are we at on that house next to Lodge on Windy Knoll? I think we're moving forward on that?
Oh, tire shop.
No, you could talk about that.
I don't know what else to call it.
It's going through the process as far as the code enforcement before it gets to the court system. So it's being tracked and monitored. I can't tell you exactly what day we're on, but it's on the radar.
Into next budget year, can we add something to our website to where anytime a citizen initiates a process, they can see what stage it's in? That way they can, if it gets stuck for them, they can say, call the city, hey, I see my whatever stuck at this stage of a process. And then in case someone missed it, we can go look for that, just to create a better customer experience for our citizens.
So a status check?
Yeah, it was just, it's essentially a workflow. Well, it would be for, I'll let him manage how the sausage is made, but keeping folks in the queue of seasonings have been added, meat has been ground, it's in the refrigerator.
Yes, answer your question.
I don't know.
Yes, it's possible. We have a software program that's going to be rolling out. It does. You can record it, upload pictures, so forth and so on, and get a real-time timestamp and a response on your cell phone. And then we can track it from there. So we have administrative rights, of course, so we can go in and we can monitor it, make sure that the complaint or the observation is answered in a timely manner.
Is that what you and Chief Atkinson were talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Atkinson was talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
During the, okay. So it might be something like you're talking about.
Okay. Anybody else? Josh, you got another? Go ahead.
I got a few. Have we made any progress on building out our line of sight network for our water wells so we can get them off the public internet?
Not yet. That's on the to-do list.
Okay.
With IT and James and see what their professional recommendation is, regarding that. But no, I'll address that this week. I have not.
Okay. I mean, I know you have your hands full. I don't want to throw any more spears at you today. Could we look at possibly switching up our email provider? The reason I ask that is almost the entirety of the DoD operates off Microsoft Outlook. So if an adversary is going to attack the U.S., they're going to attack Microsoft. If the city could maybe be on just a different platform like Google or something, it at least reduces our risk surface in the event of a nation-state attack. Additionally, could we look at adding some different operating systems? Linux, I hesitate to say Mac, but something like that. So if you do see another CrowdStrike Windows issue happen globally, it's not taking out the entirety of the city, but maybe only a portion of it. And then can we look into Salesforce Encode as a way to create better redundancy, availability, and maybe cost savings?
I'm sorry, what was the name of that?
Salesforce. It's a much smaller company, but they do a lot of cloud hosting and they do offer Encode as a service. That I'm thinking that because we have that one server is coming end of life, before we have to just drop a big bunch of money on that, let's at least make sure before that comes to be a problem.
Yes, sir. IT department.
Members, informational items. Okay. What else, Josh? Is that it? Okay. Anybody else?
Just wondering if we have, and I don't know if this can be discussed or not, but I was kind of wondering what our timeline is, what has been set for the timeline over here at the SWT, and what the expectations are for moving forward.
Yes, sir. So SWT, there was an inspection done by Bureau of Veritas today, which are certified inspectors who are still contracted by the city. I just literally saw it pop up on my email prior to over here, so I do not know the results. We have been in contact with the owner. I'll stop by Saturday to allow him to go in, to be there for him to go in to remove his inventory and equipment that he said that he needed access to. However, he wasn't able to get it done on Saturday, so I'll follow up with him again tomorrow. So the ideal is to have a structural engineer come in and take a look at the building to determine what needs to be done to make it structurally sound. Condemnation does not mean that the building has to be completely torn down. This means it has to be restored to a safe condition to where it can be repaired and inhabited again, if that's what the owner so desires. That was explained to him. And we're working with him to try to, I also gave him some references to some structural engineers if you wanted to have them go take a look themselves at their recommendations. So we've been in constant contact with Mr. Jesse, and that's where we are on that. I don't have a timeline as far as
I think it'll be a long
demolition
process.
and repair and so forth. I don't have a timeline on that.
Okay, well, I mean, I anticipate it's a long process. I just kind of wanted to, it is kind of a big topic.
Right.
And we get asked a lot of questions, and certainly it's not our place to get too involved in that, but I think having a little basic understanding of the wheels are turning, so that's helpful.
So, I'd like to speak on that just real quick. April 21st, the building partially collapsed. He was advised at that time to coming down to get a demolition permit at the city, which he did, and we asked him to clean the building up at that point. And when it collapsed on April 21st, we also explained that he needed to shore it up to the point where it was secure, because if it wasn't, then it would have to be shut down and condemned. On July 25th, a second partial collapse happened in that same area, which made the building even more unsecure, unsafe. And it was at that point, with consultation from the fire chief, that we decided to close the building down. So we have been working with Mr. Jesse since April 21st, almost 90 days before we made the decision to shut the building down because of safety reasons. So the tower on top is not structurally secure, so if it tumbles over to the one on the railroad tracks, or could go on 173 and hurt somebody. So that's our responsibility, is to protect the public, and that's what we explained to Mr. Jesse.
I forgot one.
Well, go ahead. We've had a fairly quick meeting.
Okay. The public release of information released on Facebook last week did not meet the clear intent of council, which was to be transparent. The statement, while factual, was guilty of the same actions that led to this debacle, omission of uncomfortable facts. The statement about the release on Facebook last week regarding I think it said something about the grand jury. I don't want to say more.
Wasn't that identical to what was in the paper?
Yeah, I think the paper copy pasted it. However, we at council were very explicit to be very transparent, because our goal here is to build trust in the community and not hide. I mean, we don't have to put all the dirty laundry out there, but we need to be very transparent at the point and really own the stuff that we did wrong and the mistakes we made.
So you're saying it wasn't transparent enough, or
Yes.
it was too transparent?
Not transparent enough.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, remember, it's informational items, all right?
No, I'm just gonna understand what he was
Yes, ma'am.
talking about.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry. We did have a resignation, which is the airport manager, Ms. Vicky Humphrey. So we have been working with Titan individuals that run the fuel farm, ensure that we're getting trained up. And we have all the points of contact. They have all the points of contact for the airport for notices to airmen and so forth, which is required to have flights cease out there in case something happens. So myself and Pete, and a couple of people from Public Works went out and got a crash course on training on the fuel farm. However, there's a class that's required online once, or you could take a 3-day class, which is in Indiana next week, which is, we're not going to make that. However, we're going to get somebody certified and trained out there so we can continue to run the fuel farm. We have notified the airport board, the chairman, and the airport board is aware of what's going on and the steps that we're taking to make sure the airport stays secure. So it is an undirected airport, so pilots flying there in and out on their own in the first place. There's no control tower on island, as we're aware, but we just want to continue to make sure it's as safe as can be.
So you have no, you're not going to replace the airport manager?
That's
We're
going
just
to be
going to
up
have
to-
Public Works take care of the fuel farm?
for now. And we'll bring it to the council and just decide to replace the airport manager. Then, actually, we'll consider that.
Okay. I had one thing, and I was just kind of checking up on it. I can't remember where we stand on it. Not too long ago, we were offered a program to where we can have all of our water lines and such mapped and what have you. And we didn't accept it right away. Tom had an objection about having to go to Arkansas in case there was ever any litigation or what have you. So everything was kind of put on hold. Do you know where we stand on that, David?
So one issue was the arbitration, which we worked out and agreed to a location here in Texas. Was it Lockhart? I think it was Lockhart. Brownsville, Texas. And the second item in their contract, they have a indemnification clause, which we cannot identify anyway, which Tom brought that out to that company. And then as a result, now they're looking at their legal department is looking at their contracts regarding that. So as a result, we have missed this cycle for the GIS mapping grant. And I expressed to them that we want to be considered for the next cycle coming up as they redo their contract.
That's a bummer.
So because we can't do the indemnity thing, they wanted it, but they were looking into it, and then we missed the cycle.
Well, it was both. It would have to do with the indemnifying them of anything, plus going to Arkansas if
Yeah, but
there
he's
was any
saying they
litigation.
changed it to Brownsville.
Yeah, they just
Like
did.
They figured, that got figured out,
Well,
but it
they-
was the actual
Right, did I understand you right? That's not a done deal, they have to look into their...
Correct. They're not going to do any more contracts until they get until their legal department looks at their
When is
contract.
the next cycle, so we don't miss it?
It's next year,
Hopefully we get it again.
2025?
2025.
Okay.
So hopefully we get it again. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. I didn't know the exact details. I knew something was in the works. So, all right. Anything else, guys? Agenda item number 6.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I have a motion from Josh. Second. Second from Jeff. All in favor? All right, guys. Good meeting. Good discussion. And I think we come back in 2 weeks.
Sharpen our knives for 2 weeks, yeah.